open the January 8th, 2024 study session. All council members are in attendance. We have one thing on our agenda tonight, and that is Sumner Strategic Tourism Plan. I will call on Communications Director Carmen Palmer.
Good evening, council. Thank you for your time here. Probably the first and only time I will ever present in front of you with a UW sweatshirt, but go dogs. Hopefully they're doing better than they were. So anyway, before you tonight is the strategic tourism plan for Sumner. It's technically called the sub-area master plan. I'll explain that. We took advantage of an opportunity. Pierce County hired MMGY Next Factor, which Cassandra, I'll introduce her in a minute and turn it over to her, is with this company to do a strategic tourism plan for Pierce County. Little bit of history from Sumner's point of view. When I first arrived here in 2006, we didn't worry too much about tourism, and that was fine. People either loved us or had no idea where Sumner was. And you didn't have to go very far before they had no idea where Sumner was, like Puyallup. The 2008 recession hit, and suddenly we realized we did have to care about tourism because visitors spend money. And so all of our independent stores needed that support. We couldn't just keep them in business with our spending there, no matter how much we tried. It's also documented the way you increase visitor spending at your local restaurants and stores exponentially is to get them to spend the night. So heading into the recession, we also did not have money for a plan like this. So we leaned into our own plans, our youth forums, our community summits, the feedback we got. The one thing you don't have there is outside perspective. I had just come to this job, so I invited all the people I used to work with in PR and marketing in Seattle to come visit Sumner. If I buy them lunch, would they give us perspective if what we were selling was the right experience they were experiencing? And we were. So that was a great DIY method. It served us well. The brand, the experience we were selling was small town charm. The hook we used to get people's attention was rhubarb pie capital of the world, bringing that back from the mid 1900s. And it worked really well. Fast forward to last year, and it was time to do a check-in. Sumner has changed a lot. We've grown a lot. We've changed a lot. Could small town experience still be what we promised people? And we also had that unique opportunity I mentioned. Pierce County hired MMGY Next Factor to do a master plan for the county. You probably recall every year, most of our lodging tax money still goes to the county. Complicated process I won't get into. It's because we didn't establish our own lodging tax committee by 1997. 5 of our 7% will always go to Pierce County unless the state changes that law. So it seemed like a good idea to hire the same company to do a sub plan just for Sumner for 2 reasons. One, it made this process cheaper because once they were coming out here to do Pierce County's plan, we tagged onto that. The actual technical term is piggyback. And so we got this plan for cheaper than it normally would have been. It also makes it seamless with the county's plan. So that's a very practical thing for 2 reasons. One, most people aren't just going to come visit Sumner and ignore that big mountain, ignore all those museums and just leave. They're here for the whole experience, and we are a part of that. So our plan will always be part of the county's plan. Second, because we go to the county to ask for our funding, it will just be very nice that our plan aligns with theirs for the next 10 years. So what we've been given to do fits really well with what the county's trying to do countywide. That sets us up very well, hopefully for success and continuing to receive those grants. So with that, at the beginning of 2023, have to make sure I'd say the right years. He approved our lodging tax committee's recommendation to hire MMGY Next Factor. And so I will turn it over to Cassandra McCauley from MMGY to take it away.
Thanks very much, Carmen. I'm not able to share my screen at this moment. I'm not sure if I can get permission to do that, please.
We'll have Jeff work on that.
Thanks, Jeff. Great. Thank you very much. Make sure that you're seeing the right screen here. There we go. Thank you, Carmen, and thank you, Council, for making time for this presentation this evening. I'm thrilled to be here with you tonight to share the results of your sub-area master plan. A little bit about our organization. My name is Cassandra McCauley, as Carmen indicated, and I am the Managing Director of MMGY Next Factor. We are proud to work in destinations around the world with more than 320 clients around the world. And obviously, most recently, working in Pierce County and beautiful Sumner. And it's been a really fantastic experience. As Carmen alluded to in her opening remarks, you have some fantastic assets and a great starting point and a great launch point for a plan like this from a tourism perspective. And so coming into your community and speaking with your stakeholders and understanding their perspectives, both from the county-wide approach, but also from a local approach in Sumner, was really helpful for us. And so as we worked through our process, the objectives that we were working towards, as Carmen mentioned, were to align Sumner's strategic plan with the Pierce County Tourism Destination Strategic Plan as well, and make sure that we were leveraging our opportunities to share our insights from our stakeholders and our residents, but also to be able to dive deep into Sumner's opportunities. And with that, thinking about what is that long-term vision for Sumner's visitor economy, and how do we continue to make sure that we are really thinking about the opportunities, as Carmen said, related to overnight visitation in the community. And the last piece of what we were tasked to do here was to assess and make recommendations related to Sumner's brand. As Carmen said, you've been sharing and selling the small town charm. And so we brought in our experts on brand to really take a look at that and make sure that that still resonates. And so as we move through the presentation, I think it's important that you have a sense for the engagement that was done on this. As Carmen said, in previous iterations, it had been a bit of a DIY perspective with familiar stakeholders. And in this case, as we aligned our stakeholder engagement with the Pierce County plan, what that enabled us to do was listen to even more stakeholders. And so with Pierce County, we had a steering committee that was representative of the entire county. And so we had several sessions with them. We also had a couple sessions in Sumner with key stakeholders who were brought together to be an advisory group on your plan. We undertook what we call a Destination Next assessment. We had 142 responses county-wide to that assessment. And what that assessment did for us was it helped us to understand the strengths from a county-wide perspective of the experiences and the assets from a tourism lens that exist. And then we look at that against the alignment that exists amongst stakeholders. And so that was really helpful for us from an assessment perspective to understand how your stakeholders in the visitor economy or related to it see Pierce County. We undertook 15 interviews. We facilitated 10 focus groups with 55 participants. And we facilitated 2 community town hall sessions. Now, on top of that, we also had a resident survey, and the resident survey was responded to from residents across the county, and getting their perspective was a really interesting element to this as well. Now, as we looked at Sumner specifically, it was important that we also got the Sumner perspective. So we drilled down on this, and we were able to undertake 5 deep dive one-on-one interviews, and then 3 focus groups with key stakeholders within Sumner as well. And as I mentioned, the advisory group who helped guide our work. Now, as we worked through our process, one of the objectives that we had, and one of the key elements to plans like this, is to determine the vision. What is that shared vision for the future of the visitor economy in Sumner. And so working with your stakeholders, but also taking into account the research, key industry insights that we have from our work around the globe, and understanding the trends in the marketplace, we worked with your stakeholders and developed a vision for Sumner in the next 10 years. And this is for the visitor economy in Sumner. And so that is in 2034, Sumner will be a welcoming, vibrant community that celebrates its connections to people and the land. Now, this was a great exercise, and one that we were iterating with the committee right up until kind of the very end. We had different words here in this vision that resonated with some and didn't resonate with others. But the things that were most important and the elements of this vision that everybody kept coming back to was, number one, the welcoming element. And that was critical. You are a welcoming community now, but it is very important to your stakeholders that you remain a welcoming community as you grow in the next 10 years. And so that was important to your stakeholders, that remained as part of this vision for the visitor economy. The element of a vibrant community that celebrates its connections to the people and the land was also really important. The vibrancy was an element here that your stakeholders see as an opportunity to continue to grow over the next 10 years when it comes to building out opportunities for visitation. You have vibrancy in your community now with your events and with some of those great things that you celebrate organically in Sumner, but there's a way to bring that together in a more consistent way. The vibrancy also lends itself to thinking about the new residents that you're going to have and how do we continue to have the amenities that are going to serve both our visitors and our new residents. And then celebrating our connections to the people and the land. This was important to your stakeholders because we understand here the connection to celebrating our history and being part of that and having that come through as who we are, that small town charm as well. But then to the land, that indicates our opportunities and our reach with our opportunities for sustainable tourism and sustainability, but also agritourism. And so when I see this, I always advise that a strong vision is three things. And first of all, it's aspirational. It's not necessarily reflective exactly of who we are today, but who we want to be. It's inspirational. And so it's something that creates that emotive connection for our stakeholders to get behind. And it helps to identify and outline our priorities. And I see all of these things in this vision. And your stakeholders who were part of our advisory committee were strong advocates of this direction as well. Now, this takes us into brand opportunities. As I mentioned, we brought in our brand specialist and did a strong assessment of the brand. And the current brand promise, as Carmen talked about, is about selling that small town charm. But it's the way that it's articulated currently is very focused as a municipal government even brand promise. And so that is that Sumner is an authentic small town that has well-planned infrastructure and easy access to a vibrant region. And that is important, but to take this to the next level and ensure that that small town charm is still resonating and that your brand promise continues to resonate in the next 10 years. And as you see through the life cycle of this plan, a couple key things are important here. And first, we recommend that the brand promise is updated to reflect that commitment to small town charm and experiences. And experiences is key here, and making sure that visitors understand that and that you have that vibrancy and those experiences. But the second element of this is truly engaging with your businesses and residents so that there are opportunities for them to live this brand in different ways and for them to be able to showcase the brand through their businesses and through their way of going about daily life in Sumner. And that will help to guide different decisions for the community on events that you choose to facilitate and host, and different aspects of how you start to live the brand, but also how you start to implement this tourism plan. And so as we get into your strategic goals on this sub-area master plan for Sumner, one thing that I think is really important for you all to understand is as we worked to create alignment with the broader Pierce County plan, and there are many reasons for doing that, as Carmen said, for funding opportunities, but also for further alignment with your stakeholders and peers in the county. We have articulated the same goals for both the broader Pierce County plan as well as the Sumner plan. Now, what falls below the line on these goals as far as initiatives are concerned, those are different. And your initiatives are specific exclusively to Sumner, whereas Pierce County's initiatives are focused on the broader county. And the other difference here is that the county-wide goals are prioritized in different ways as opposed to yours. And so with the Sumner plan, we begin with enhancing our tourism infrastructure. And our tourism infrastructure in Sumner has many opportunities for us to continue to grow as we look to achieve that goal of enhancing the economic impact of visitation, but also growing overnight stays in Sumner. And so when we consider that, accommodations are a key element of that. And so you will have the plan in front of you, or if you don't now, you will soon. And you'll see in that plan that there are initiatives here that articulate elements about developing a boutique hotel downtown, and that would consider the upper floors of our downtown buildings. And so that way we are maintaining the culture and the feel of your existing infrastructure, but adding in those accommodation opportunities where it's possible. This also includes considering how do we engage with our farm owners and operators and support them in developing boutique accommodations and glamping opportunities at their agritourism experiences. And so thinking about different ways of connecting Sumner with your accommodations and your brand promise. This also includes our outdoor recreation infrastructure. And so ensuring that our trail development and that final connectivity with the countywide trail system is complete. And an important one is developing unique to Sumner enhancements that are close to trails. And so that would include public art, artwork, breweries, farm restaurants, and even outfitters, so local businesses close to those trails. And so if you have visitors who are traveling through Sumner on bike or walking, they're able to experience a piece of Sumner, and it gives them a reason to come back and maybe even come back and stay. So those are a couple of the opportunities. We also include recommendations on placemaking. And so that includes ensuring that we have consistent and sufficient placemaking and wayfinding signage that is true to Sumner. Taking the great work that you've begun on murals and public art and incorporating even more of that into your downtown. When we consider accessibility under enhancing our tourism infrastructure, that is an element where we see strong opportunities for Sumner. Accessibility can be undertaken in many ways because that word means many different things to many people. But by becoming a more accessible destination, by doing things like widening your paths, paving your trails, and considering accessible accommodations and other initiatives, you are going to open your market to even more potential travelers and visitors to come to Sumner. And then when we think about a sustainability perspective, really supporting our industry partners in adopting and participating in environmental sustainability initiatives so that as a community, everybody is aligned in that work. Our second strategic goal here is about creating additional attractions, events, and experiences. And you'll see here that we have several initiatives that stem from event strategy. And so ensuring that we have a comprehensive event strategy that really looks at expanding our visitor demand generating events in our shoulder seasons. You have exceptional events in the summer, Rhubarb Days, those are great events. How can we think about developing and offering events that are in needs periods where we have an opportunity to fill our hotels in different ways and to bring people in when they aren't typically coming to Sumner in the shoulder seasons. And then ensuring all aspects of Sumner's history, heritage, and cultures are included in those events so that they are inclusive. Further evolving Rhubarb Days to include more of the community and turning it into even further more of a food, craft brewery, coffee, farmer maker festival that extends through the whole community. And then considering adding different elements that will draw new audiences. Drone shows, light displays, sport competitions, or agricultural symposiums that give different markets, different reasons to come and participate in the event, but also understand and participate in great things that are happening in Sumner in different ways. Further down, we have recommendations related to agritourism. And so collaborating with the county to invest in food, farm, and cider trail developments, and having Sumner as a key stop on those. Working with our experience providers to develop culinary and farm-based events. And then when we think about voluntourism, this is a growing market where there are many visitors and many travelers who are looking to contribute and give back to the communities in which they're visiting. And so thinking about how you can partner with local not-for-profits to develop volunteer programs and itineraries that are targeted at visitors. That will help give back to the community and bring net new visitors and economic impact to the community. And then when we think about experiences, again, continuing to make sure that we have our businesses open in the hours in which visitors are looking for them. And so making sure that our restaurants are open in the evenings and weekends, that our retail is open in the evenings and weekends, and that we have opportunities for folks to engage with the community and spend money. Our strategic goal of augmenting our connectivity and mobility here is a really important one. You have an incredible asset in the commuter train. And so further leveraging that from a visitor perspective and creating a campaign to encourage train riders to come and visit Sumner. Connecting downtown Sumner with the industrial area is also a really important opportunity here. That's where your hotels and accommodations currently are. And so how do we make sure that we're developing that link for visitors to come downtown and participate in the downtown? Enhancing our transportation options and opportunities is a really important one. And so what we see here are opportunities to support private business offerings of on-demand shuttles for transportation to our agricultural offerings and farms, and even Mount Rainier. And then developing and advocating for more rideshare options in Sumner to help people get around so that they aren't reliant on their vehicles. And then, of course, further non-vehicular options include supporting bike and e-bike rentals and outfitters in Sumner, and then developing bike lanes throughout Sumner to encourage people to get out of their cars and using other modes of transportation, particularly as we think about that link back to our tourism infrastructure and connecting the county with the trail options. And then finally here on strengthening our identity and alignment, we feel that it's really important here from a brand perspective to undertake that community-wide exercise to understand the sentiment on the brand and then create that further buy-in and opportunities for your businesses and residents to participate in that. And then, of course, aligning with Pierce County as they further their efforts on developing a cohesive county-wide brand. From a marketing perspective, making sure that you are developing a collaborative marketing and activation strategy throughout Sumner. And so that's helping to think about not only our events and our business zones, but also now how do we activate those and get all of the businesses aligned and aware of these opportunities. And then, of course, alignment, actively supporting Pierce County's long-term tourism development and identity initiatives as they align and support Sumner's. And so there's great opportunity there for that furthering of both plans by working collaboratively. So this was a really quick overview, but I wanted to share with you some of the highlights and how we got to this point. I'd be very happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have any questions? No, no. No. I think you get off the hook.
All right, so just really quick, this was a presentation following up on you confirming the funding to get the report. So there's no ask of you tonight, no have to approve it or anything. From here, you heard Cassandra mention a lot alignment. And so this is the plan moving forward for all of us. It's not just the city's plan, it's the community's plan. So that's Travel Tacoma is our main destination marketing organization. Visit Rainier, they participated heavily in this. Sumner Main Street Association, our chambers. This is to give us all, okay, I gotta give one more UW pitch, but Boys in the Boat just came out, for all of us to be pulling at the same time so that we move forward very quickly and successfully. So from here, we will take this roadmap and figure out the different ways. One of the things that was exciting, it was exciting to have all of our stakeholders participating, but Knudsen Farms came up and was very active with this and tying in all of the work, not just Knudsen, Spooners, all the farms. Cassandra mentioned that missing opportunity for agritourism and aligning them with Sumner. So already just by doing this process, starting to put some of the same people in the same room, different people in the same room so that we can work together. So stay tuned on further efforts as this develops into actual concrete efforts. The wayfinding sign one is actually underway. I almost pulled that one because I'm like, well, we're doing that anyway. And then I thought, well, having an easy win out of 10 years to get us started is not a bad thing. So
I see we have a question from Councilmember Stewart.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find my raise the hand feature. I haven't used this computer for a while. Thank you for that presentation. I just had a question or two. What is a shoulder season?
Thank you. A shoulder season is on the shoulders of the busy seasons. And so typically when we talk about shoulder seasons in the tourism industry, we're often thinking about spring, summer, and even winter. And so how do we continue to address our opportunities in those seasons when they aren't a typical high season for visitors?
Okay, thank you. I think that we, some time ago when the US Open was in University Place, we had a big event. We were a big part of that, a partner in that program. And it showed that we can do things like that successfully. My fear is there's a lot of work being done on this and there's a lot of buzzwords in this. I think it's important to point out the fact that the reality is, I mean, we're a train stop for people to go to work and to come home. And it's unfortunate that a lot of, maybe if the businesses were open, it would be different. But a lot of times people ride the train and get off in Sumner. They want to go home, especially nowadays when it's dark and they're not overly excited to do things in town. They just want to get home. And so I mean, I understand it's part of the major master plan, but how would you focus on getting them, instead of getting to their car, walk down Main Street. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, when we were in the process of working with your stakeholders and the advisory committee on this project, part of the conversation as we were thinking about that shared vision, that shared long-term vision for Sumner, that word vibrancy and that element about vibrancy continued to come back into the conversation over and over again, because it's going to be that vibrancy and having the businesses open, but having things happening that will be that draw for people to think, you know what, let's stop and let's go downtown Sumner. And so, excuse me one moment. Excuse me. The cough that never ends. Having those opportunities, and the more that you create vibrancy, the more that things are happening, the more that people see that there are people, that there are things happening, that's going to be a further draw. And so if there are elements in this plan that I encourage you to prioritize and focus on, it's going to be those elements that are going to drive that vibrancy. And so that would be encouraging your businesses to be open later in the evenings and on weekends, considering focusing on the opportunities around developing accommodations in your downtown, because that is going to naturally bring more people and give businesses reason to stay open as well. And then furthering your events and your opportunities there. You've got great things happening with the Heritage Park redevelopment and all of those other aspects downtown. And so you have the foundation, and now it's activating all of that and making sure that people know about it and they have reasons to come down weeknights.
Very good. I like your response. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilmember Potato.
So, I mean, speaking about, getting people from the train, I think we missed such a great opportunity, and maybe not our place to put advertising by the train station, but, if you ride back and forth and you see that, something's happening in Sumner as you're, looking out the window, then you're more likely to make a plan to stop. And, then I was wondering, what do you mean by placemaking?
So placemaking is a term that is used when we refer to creating spaces for people that are comfortable, that are safe, and that give them reason and opportunity to participate. And so when we think about placemaking from this perspective, and we think about some of the opportunities that we see existing in Sumner from a placemaking perspective, that would be, in addition to your wayfinding and signage that is going to tell the story about how to get around and what there is to do. It's also thinking about things like incorporating even more of your public art and your murals that celebrate Sumner, and thinking about pocket parks, plazas, laneways, and you have all of those, but how do we now take them and make them even more interesting and engaging? And that could be by doing things, having programs where those change over on a frequent basis so that people have, again, more reason to come and experience them and check them out. But it could be, having lights, you've got the music, you have a lot of great things from placemaking perspectives, but it's continuing to enhance those and then continuing to update them to give people different reasons to come and check them out.
All right,
Thank you.
Councilmember Alpha.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I had a couple questions. Can you tell me why the accommodation was so specific? It said develop a boutique hotel downtown considering the upper floors, because I would think that's can you really, like, through zoning and that stuff, why not just like quality accommodations in the downtown area? Like, it's very specific, a boutique hotel. And then second question is, what have you seen other cities? How do they change the hours? Like, you got a lot of shops that are closing at 5 o'clock. Is that something that you can actually do? Like, how does the city do that without making really stringent like regulations?
Right, yeah. So first of all, on the accommodation question, as we thought about preserving the charm of downtown, and we thought about making sure that what we are recommending really fits in with the community. We don't want things that don't necessarily fit with Sumner. We want to preserve the authenticity of Sumner. We want to preserve your the charm of your community. And so that's where the opportunity for boutique hotel came in, and also really leveraging the existing infrastructure that exists and converting that into accommodations on second floors. We've seen that work really well in different destinations. A couple that come to mind are Leavenworth. They've seen great success with that. Banff, Alberta has done that. And many other communities, smaller communities, have done it to great success because it also helps to increase the foot traffic in your downtown and gets your visitors participating in the authenticity of your community, but also of your brand. And so that's why that recommendation is phrased as such. When we think about incentivizing businesses to stay open later, that's not something I'm sure that as a city you want to get into mandating hours of businesses. But there are ways of creating campaigns, creating events that would be opportunities for the businesses to want to stay open later. And I know that many small businesses right now are struggling with workforce, and that's part of the challenge of their shortened hours. But once they start to understand that there are people downtown, that there are opportunities there, and they can make money in those extended hours, either evenings or weekends or both, then it will become more obvious to them. And so having a few even pilot programs or events that can be proof of that concept will help to prove that up for them without you mandating something like that, which is not the intention.
Anybody else? Councilmember Cole.
I wanted to say that I want to steal your job, Carmen, once I read all through this plan. It's like, that'd be a lot of fun. I really, really like the signature events ideas. I liked a lot of things. I really loved the idea about using the commuter train right now, leveraging it right now that it obviously isn't an option, but Sound Transit did do a survey. And so who knows, they may add other runs throughout the day. But when I am at home, I'm not working, I will occasionally take the midday train to Seattle, go have lunch, and then come back. And I can see people doing that with Sumner. Seattle has this restaurant week, and we could have restaurant week. There are all kinds of interesting things. So anyway, I just thought this was really, really interesting. I think very exciting to where Sumner could go. And I really, truly mean it that I want your job. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could just add, the other thing is, this is a very fun part of my job. Thank you. But the other to do is I will provide to you the county's plan. So once that comes out, you'll really see how this fits in with countywide strategies. And so they were just in the process of rolling theirs out. So I would have gotten a little bit ahead of them if I had provided it for tonight, but we'll make a note as soon as I can. I will share that with all of you too.
Thank you. All right, thank you for your report. And I appreciate all the work you put into it, and we'll see what happens.
Great. Thank you very much. And congratulations to you all. This is a really important undertaking and initiative for a community. And I congratulate you on your leadership for undertaking such a plan. And I wish you success. And if there's anything that we can do, please reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to city administrator report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things on my report tonight. First off, just a reminder that Mr. Dahlum's retirement celebration is this Wednesday at 3:00 here in the chambers. I encourage all of you to attend to wish him well into retirement. Second thing, just a reminder, we also have an executive session tonight, so we'll be going into that in just a few minutes in the other room.
All right. So moving on to agenda setting, do we have any council meeting issues that we need to address? All right,
For tomorrow night, Public Works Committee, Carla Bowman will be attending along with myself because the others are unavailable.
okay. And how about committee meeting? That was a committee meeting. Any other committee meeting issues? All right. So tonight we have an executive session. There will be for the purpose of discussing with legal counsel labor negotiations pursuant to RCW 42.30.140 4A and to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation per RCW 42.30.110 LI. And it will last
30 minutes, Mayor,
30 minutes
with no action to follow.
with no action to follow. I will adjourn the meeting into executive session at 6:40 PM.